What is up, wrestling fans? Welcome to another pay-per-view point edition of the Smarkout Moment Smack Talk podcast. It is time to talk about the 2020 Royal Rumble pay-per-view, which just went down a few minutes ago, and we are going to run down the whole card from top to bottom, and all the results, all the recap, all our review. That's what the post-show is all about here. I am your host, as always, Tony Mango, and joining me, as always, is Callum Wiggins.
In the presence of royalty.
What? I'm totally lost on this now.
I'm the royalist member of the cast just because of my British accent. Yeah.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Doesn't quite fit with mine. Although I don't have an accent, according to me. Rob's not here. He did not get a chance to really watch too much of the event, so it wouldn't have made a whole lot of sense for him to review something that he didn't really quite see. But I'm sure we'll get his opinions about it, maybe on like the hot takes or something like that for anybody who's wondering what's going on with that. But we also want to get your opinions of what you thought about the 2020 Royal Rumble. So, of course, as always, if you are listening to this on the audio-only platforms such as Spotify or Google Play or Stitcher or anything else like that, then hop on over to the YouTube channel. And while you're over there, and you can leave your comments, because that actually has a comment section to it, like the video, because that'll help out quite a bit. Subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't done that already. And if you want to be aware of when we post new videos and the subscription thing is not quite 100% reliable, then ring that little bell, because that will give you little alerts whenever we post things. So, keeping that all in mind, let's just start diving right into this. Hopefully nobody did the Royal Rumble drinking game that I have up on the site, because I think that you probably would have gotten drunk very early on in the Royal Rumble matches themselves. But before we even get into the Royal Rumble matches, we have to talk about the pre-show, which was largely 2 hours of nothing. I think it really was underwhelming. Outside of the matches, the only thing that I had written down that was of any note was the R-Truth section. He had a little quick thing where he was just talking about the idea of him declaring himself and undeclaring himself for the Royal Rumble, kind of hitting on the same notes as what he did on Monday Night Raw about he doesn't want to get taken to Sioux Falls City. And there's a really good moment where Sam Roberts had said, well, you're older than John Cena. How would you have possibly watched him growing up? And R-Truth said, on a TV. That was really good. Any non-match stuff on the pre-show stand out to you, good or bad?
Am I going to have to try and pretend that I actually watched it beyond the matches? I don't watch these things. They've given me
no reason to.
No reason to. So why should I bother? I'll click on when the matches are taking place. Other than that, I will just sit playing a video game instead, because that is a far better use of my time.
Watching you play a video game was probably a better use of anybody else's time as well, if they could have done that.
I don't know.
Not a whole lot. It depends. What game are you playing?
Stardew Valley.
Never played it. No idea what it is.
It's just a cartoon farming simulator game. So it's nothing special. It's definitely more entertaining than this. but yeah, that was definitely a better use of my time.
Even the matches themselves, we had Sheamus defeat Shorty G by pinfall, and we had Andrade retain the United States Championship over Humberto Carrillo, and I was not a big fan of either of them. I'm glad that Sheamus won. I'm glad Andrade won, but I don't think I really enjoyed either of them all that much.
I thought the matches were okay in of themselves. They just had, the better one I thought was the Sheamus Shorty G match.
Yeah, definitely was better.
I felt that it might have been a test to see how good Sheamus is coming back. Just putting him in the ring with Shorty G so he can carry a lot of the aspects of the match, with Sheamus trying to take away the ring rust and everything like that. But yeah, I thought they strung some good things together. But it's just hard to care about Shorty G in his current gimmick, and Sheamus is just coming back, and he was the focal point. I don't really enjoy the fact that they worked on the ankle so much towards the end of it, and then Sheamus just hit the bro kick, showing no signs of any damage to his ankle at all. But what you're going to do is a pre-show match, so it doesn't really matter too much anyway. So Sheamus got the victory, yeah. Humberto Carrillo versus Andrade. There are a lot of fancy arm drags, but other than that, there's really not much to report. It was just probably the most entertaining part of that entire match for me was watching Zelina Vega's face as the match went on, seeing her reactions to everything that was going on in the ring, because it was clearly had a lot more emotion to it than any of the fans at ringside were showing towards this match.
That's kind of one of the running themes of the night, though. I think that a lot of times there wasn't anything super big happening. The crowd was completely dead.
Yeah, the attendance was announced attendance was 42,715. It sounded like the crowd was even smaller than the NXT show the night before.
Yeah, and I get when they were kind of just, sitting on oh God, what's the phrase? I just blanked out. I had a complete brain fart moment right then. Sitting on their hands? Is that the phrase?
Yeah.
I was going to say sitting on their feet. I'm like, what? I don't think that's the thing. Yeah, I get that whole idea for something like the Andrade match because it's who was really looking super forward to it and all that. But even later on in the night when we had more complex matches, they still weren't getting too riled up. So that hindered some of these things here and there.
I think fundamentally the Royal Rumble was it used to be a 1-match card, and now it's a 2-match card.
Yeah.
And then basically everything else people don't really care about. They're just there to see the Rumbles. They'll get excited for the Rumbles. They'll count along with the numbers and everything like that. And then everything else is pretty much a rest break for them.
Yeah, and that's unfortunate because there were some good moments here and there. It's just happened to be another kind of 2-match card for the most part.
Yeah. Also, well, I think there are 2 other factors in the low crowd noise. The first one being it's an open air venue.
Mm-hmm.
I always say that does always hinder for somebody who's watching on the WWE network. Basically any crowd noise just goes up into the atmosphere, and so you don't really get to hear it. So it could have been a lot louder than we were experiencing, but it just felt really quiet. And also, I assume many people were reeling from the tragedy of Kobe Bryant's passing.
Yeah, that's another thing that obviously weighs on a lot of people's minds at the moment because that's horrible, and
it was just such a shock to the system of everybody who knew who he was.
Right.
So I imagine that there were a lot of people that were queuing up, just like were checking it on their phones because it happened pretty much as the show started, like maybe a little while before, just like the news started rolling out.
Yeah, and a continuous news story throughout the night and everything like that. So
yeah,
I think that those factors kind of do factor in, but at the same time, I also feel like, particularly in like the pre-show section, how many people are watching it, how many people really care about these 2 matches, and even if you really did care about these 2 matches, I think that they were underwhelming. So you're working with almost nothing at that moment. But I am glad that those 2 people won. I'm glad that Sheamus seems like he's kind of back in the swing of things. So some positives, at the very least. Trying to think of the positives. First match of the night for the main card itself was the Falls Count Anywhere match, Roman Reigns versus King Corbin. As expected, they go throughout the whole Minute Maid Park, and the Usos get involved, and Robert Roode and Dolph Ziggler get involved, and I'm of 2 opinions about this. Part of me thinks it was fine for an opening match, and that's kind of just that's the end of it. And another part of me, the more that I think about it, the less I liked this match. Because I kind of can't remember anything special happening other than that Usos dive. And even that, it's just a regular dive. Like, we've seen that before. We've seen it on higher spots. And I mean, when you do a Samoan drop through a table, and then a minute or so later, you do another Samoan drop through a table, and the match ends with just a spear on top of the dugout, that's not really like a crazy spot. It's just a spear at a different part of the arena,
Yeah, I understand. I think what hindered the match so much, and there were some good aspects to the match. I liked some of the table spots they threw into it, but then again, it's just table spots. It's always going to get a pop. And they did make use of the arena, so the Falls Count Anywhere aspect did come into it. And you had the involvement of the Usos and Robert Roode and Dolph Ziggler. But the main issue was it just went on way, way, way too long. It's like, was it about half an hour? Something like that?
Let's see how long that ended up being. That ended up being, according to Wikipedia at the very least, which some of these adjustments might happen later on, but probably not. It says 21 minutes and 20 seconds.
It felt a lot longer than that. But even so, it's just way too long to have this match going on. And it just, they only did so much. I was hoping they'd make more use of, even though they did take the fight to the outside, I thought they'd make more use of the surroundings than they did. I do like the fact that they were just slamming themselves through the regular announce tables and then the international announce tables, so nobody was safe. But yeah, it's just a pretty standard hardcore brawl, and there's not really much else to it than that. Right guy won, and hopefully this feud is done and dusted for good now.
That was the next question I was going to ask you, is do you actually feel that this is over with? Because they had Corbin later on in the night say that, well, now I'm going to eliminate him from the Royal Rumble and all this, but they didn't really cross paths too much. It wasn't really a big focal point of the Royal Rumble, so they might still continue, and I don't know, it wouldn't shock me if they continued this, especially with the Super Showdown coming up. It's now confirmed, February 27th is when it's going to happen. So it wouldn't shock me if we got another 6-man tag of some kind of sort.
Oh yeah, I imagine they might just throw that out every now and again. But I think as a real definitive feud, I think it's over.
We then had a Kevin Owens and Samoa Joe backstage segment where they reiterated exactly what they had said previously on Monday Night Raw, to the point where Kevin Owens said, "You told me that on Monday night." So just short-term memory loss, I guess. And they also had a little thing with Fire and Desire, where Sonya said that if it got down to her and Mandy, she would throw herself over because she is more supportive of Mandy Rose, and that's like a true friendship and all that. They didn't have that factor in too much later on, but they did in a different type of way. So kind of interesting that they set up something and then they sort of twisted it around a little bit.
Are we going to address Mandy's face after Sonya Deville left, just staring blankly into nothingness?
That was a little bit weird. Maybe she got the direction that was meant to be for Cyrus Ryber and all them,
Yeah, stand like a robot and make no emotion whatsoever.
She's looking for the TV that she could look sideways at backstage. Yeah. That took us into the 30-woman Royal Rumble match. And we are not going to break down, obviously, every single little aspect of this, but...
No, why not? Let's do it.
All right, so entry number 1 comes out, and she takes this amount of time. And we start off with Alexa Bliss and Bianca Belair. So I pretty much already kind of thought, well, then you get this right. Because I thought that, obviously Bliss would be in it. I thought that Bianca Belair had a good shot to be in this, but I did not think that those two would be the two that would start off. And Mighty Molly comes out number 3, and she was somebody who I figured was a chance to show up, but there were rumblings that Victoria might pop up. Didn't happen.
I mean, Victoria is quote unquote officially retired. So maybe that's just the aspect of it, is that, yeah, she's retired, so she's not, and maybe she's one of the people that's going to try and stick to it.
Maybe. I was looking forward to seeing her potentially come in. I always brought her name up as somebody who I want to see return, and this time it seemed like there were a little bit of rumblings about it, and I was disappointed that it was like, all right, it's Mighty Molly again, which it's good to see Molly, but I think given the option, I would have picked Victoria over Molly.
I think it was interesting that they used the Mighty Molly character. They thought, okay, Molly Holly's been done. We need to choose one of her other gimmicks now. Maybe next year she'll come back bald.
It's worth a shot to try. Why not? Maybe she'll do all 3 in one Royal Rumble. She'll play the new Faces of Molly instead of Faces of Wooly. And we had Nikki Cross, we had Lana, and as soon as Lana came out, it seemed like, all right, well, number 6 is going to be Liv Morgan. And surprise, surprise, it wasn't. It was Mercedes Martinez, who I had said, no, she's not going to be in it. And then right afterward, they get Liv Morgan, and they do the whole Liv Morgan thing anyway. So that's just, they threw one extra person in between there just to spice it up. But they do one of those things that they normally do, which is a Royal Rumble trope. One person that's feuding with another person, they come out right afterward, and they eliminate each other and all that, which we all kind of called ahead of time.
I think you're burying the lead here and skipping over the most important aspect, which is what Liv Morgan was wearing.
You mean just a couple strips or some stuff?
Yeah, I don't like to be this sort of guy, because I try and move away from that sort of thing, because we should be commenting on the wrestling and the storytelling that's taking place. But my God, some of the outfits some of the women were wearing, it was ridiculous. Like Mandy Rose that came out straight after Liv Morgan. It's Okay, so
Thumbs up.
I guess they, well, yeah, but I guess it's like, I guess they both. It's almost like they took like half of one costume and put one half on Liv Morgan and the other half on Mandy Rose. Just it was that was pushing the boundaries by leaps and bounds, really.
So they do the whole Liv Morgan Alana thing. That feud's not over with. And we move on a little bit. Mandy Rose comes in, as you said. Candice LeRae comes in. And we start having Bianca Belair go on her tear, which would go on for quite a while when she eliminated Molly Holly. But then we got a little fun spot with Mandy being saved by landing on top of Otis, which was funny.
Yeah, that was a good moment. I saw many people on Twitter just commented about the fact that the Mandy Rose Otis Dozovich story is probably the best story angle they have going on WWE TV right now.
Which is just like sad and funny and interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, it was just a really well done thing. Just the fact that it just happened out of nowhere. I just saw Mandy Rose just go out screaming for, oh well, that's a really odd way to eliminate her, even when Sonya Deville hasn't even come out. Like, why would they do that talk at the start of it and then just eliminate her immediately? And then you just see Otis there, and it's just, oh, this is awesome. This is so great. Otis is the best.
Then Sonya comes out, and Kairi Sane, Mia Yim, and eventually we move into a spot where Mandy and Sonya are eliminated because Otis catches Mandy, and then Sonya gets pushed into them, and he just fails to catch both of them. So they did have that whole setup, and it played out in a different way. And I'm sure that they're going to follow it up a little bit after this, which I like this.
I thought that was a fancy elimination. I thought that was, like, it was well put together.
Yeah.
What I would ask about that is, because on the like official eliminations tally, they count that as both Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville being eliminated by Bianca Belair. Does that count? Because surely Sonya Deville's body eliminated Mandy Rose.
Well, I think they judge it based off of who sends somebody over the rope in some way.
I guess so. It's just a little bit.
Like, for instance, like if somebody were to pick up Naomi and put her on the apron, and then she does all of her stuff, and then just gets like tripped, then that person would get credit for the elimination, I think.
I guess so. I would also want to talk about the fact that one of the most disappointing aspects of this part of the Rumble, and the Rumble itself overall was very good, so I don't want to like say too many negative things, but the camera completely missed Kairi Sane doing the insane elbow.
That's a running theme of the night. The camera people.
Oh yeah, I kind of wanted to talk about the camera people during the Reigns and Corbin match, because that was vomit inducing how many camera cuts and movements they were doing.
Far too many cuts, and one of the running themes of the Royal Rumble was somebody comes out and they're making their entrance, and it's like, all right, let's cut away, or let's cut to something sideways, or just really bad job. I don't know if they were working with like a different team this time around, or if everybody was tired or what, but
no, this is definitely the same team.
Awful, bad job.
They're usually this bad, and it's less noticeable, but this is in a situation where you have so many bodies coming out and stuff like that, and so many things going on that it kind of exposes how not good their current production setup is, really.
Then we had Candice, before Candice LeRae got eliminated, we had Dana Brooke come out, Kairi Sane gets taken out, Tamina comes out, she makes her return, her grand return of about a couple seconds, gets eliminated by Bianca Belair.
I thought it was impressive that she jogged to the ring. That was
and whiffed one of her first kicks, I think, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, no. She did a first kick and then almost fell over and managed to just about stay on her feet to perform her next spot. So credit where it's due. She wasn't totally awful.
Then we had Dakota Kai come out, and here's where they missed an opportunity, I think. We did eventually get Tegan Nox, but a whole 13 or so people after this. And I think that they could have done something to follow it up a little bit. Instead, they went with Chelsea Green coming out. And Chelsea eliminates Dakota, and I kind of feel like that should have been the Tegan Nox spot.
Potentially. Maybe they felt that would have been a bit overkill on top of the Liv Morgan and Lana thing, just doing another one of those spots.
I can see that. But I mean, it also is kind of strange. Like, Chelsea pops up and does that, and there's no issues. Chelsea eliminates her and gets eliminated very quick, so her whole like they put her in the match to eliminate Dakota Kai and get eliminated. I don't know, it just kind of seems like strange booking.
I think that was just like a spotlight for her. I don't think it was just an idea of, okay, we'll put her in because she's supposed to be this really big deal and she'll eliminate someone quickly. So people start thinking, oh, maybe she's a big deal. And then she's immediately eliminated. So she's going to be a bit like, I guess, a character who's very full of herself and thinks that she shouldn't be in certain matches or shouldn't be in certain situations because she's a big star. And then when it comes to like put up or shut up, she's going to be shut up more times than not.
And somewhere along the way here, Mia Yim was eliminated. I think that they missed that for camera angles and stuff, or I at least missed that entirely. It's looking like it might have been Alexa Bliss took her out. This is where they're doing the whole thing where it's like Bianca and Alexa are going back and forth, and they're eliminating everybody so it could come down to just the two of them, and then eventually just down to Bianca. And we sort of reset, which this was another theme of this year, is when you hit that 15-16 mark, you reset. I don't know if that was planned, but it happened. Because then we got on number 17.
Well, it was planned. That's what wrestling is.
Oh, yeah. But I mean, like, I don't know if they specifically said, like, we should do it this year where we have, like, half of a Royal Rumble and then another half. You know?
Yeah, I was just worried that I was going to have to explain how professional wrestling works.
What do you mean it's not real? It's real to me, damn it. Yeah, so then we get Flair coming out. We got Naomi making her return. We get Beth Phoenix popping up. So that's always cool to see Beth Phoenix. Although later on she would be bleeding quite a bit. Some kind of a shot to the head.
Yeah, that was amazing. The fact that like just the back of her head was cut open and she's just bleeding out the back of it. She was going full Ric Flair in the back of her head. And yeah, credit to her because she doesn't do this for a living now and she toughed that out as well as anybody could.
For a long while.
Yeah, she did a really, really good job. I don't know if you got the same sense as I did, but it felt during this match that until what ended up happening at the end happened, that they were building towards a Beth Phoenix Charlotte Flair match.
I didn't quite get that feeling.
I just seemed like she made a beeline immediately to Charlotte Flair, and most of the stuff that they were doing, like she would hit the glam slam on Charlotte Flair at one point that sent her to the outside. It just felt like she was being extra aggressive towards Flair. And I kind of thought, okay, so if Charlotte's not winning this match, then that could be a nice little WrestleMania match for them. But obviously, things turn out the way they turn out, so that's obviously not on the card.
And we got Toni Storm, we got Kelly making her return.
Ugh.
Yeah, underwhelming in a lot of
she's
different ways.
The stink face, so
yeah, it's like the one thing that and the spin around. I guess you could call it a Hurricane Rana, but just not the best. Sarah Logan doesn't do the best either. She comes in, she gets very quickly eliminated by Charlotte Flair. Kelly's knocked out. Natalya comes in. Xia Li comes in. Zelina Vega comes in. Shotzi Blackheart comes in. They're really pushing the Shotzi when it comes to this. Very interesting.
I think Triple H sees a lot in her.
Yeah, she was a lot of fun with the Evolve show, so that's cool. Then we get the spot with Naomi.
Mm-hmm.
And she had been dragging this out for quite a while, but she did what they have done, I think, twice, maybe 3 times before, maybe even 4 times at this point, of the idea of latching onto the security barricade. But she worked her way over to the commentary table, and then a couple minutes later, she used the little, I don't even know what you would call it, the little, like, panel that's on the top part, and she walked on that to get back into there, which is like something slightly different. Not the most impressive out of these, but something to highlight.
Yeah, it's something different, so that's kind of all you can really ask for at this point.
Yeah. We get Carmella, we get Tegan Nox, and then we get arguably the best part of the whole entire night when it comes to this match at the very least, Santina Marella. So Santino does come back, but he is in Santina form, and he eliminates himself after hitting himself with the Cobra.
And that was the one part of it I didn't like about it. I was fine with Santina coming out because if people complain about it, well, Nia Jax was in the men's rumble last year, so can't be britches really. But it was more about I think he should have actually been eliminated by Beth Phoenix and Natalya, rather than him just doing his. I know that was kind of his spot where I remember there was a clip going around of a house show battle royal when he was in the ring with Triple H and John Cena, and he tries to attack both of them, but they just don't budge when he attacks them. So he just looks at both of them and says, well, okay then, and he just grabs like his tights from behind him and throws himself over the top rope. And that was really cool. So I think they were trying to go with the same thing here with that, but I felt like, well, because they were telling the story of the idea that he eliminated Beth Phoenix from the that WrestleMania Miss WrestleMania Battle Royal. So kind of it should have been like come full circle, have Beth Phoenix eliminate him or her, whatever you want to call it. Yeah.
But I still liked it. I still thought it was kind of funny, and it's just something to make us laugh. Because then right after that, you get Shayna Baszler, and Shayna goes on a tear of her own. She eliminates 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 people in a row, and eventually an 8th person. So we get down to Shayna and Charlotte wins. Huh.
Yeah. So the final four was Baszler, Flair, Natalia, and Beth Phoenix. They did the whole spot, which they also repeated in the men's rumble as well, which was the two people teaming up and then one of them eliminating the other one. But at least they had the story going into it that Natalia eliminated Beth Phoenix from the rumble last year. So it's basically just a turnaround. It's fair play. And then Phoenix is eliminated by Baszler, and then Charlotte does the whole hanging on to like skinning the cat thing, does the head scissors over the top rope, and Baszler's eliminated. Yeah. Charlotte Flair wins is kind of the rule, and I feel kind of stupid for just not going with it. Because at the end of the day, it's the safest bet you can make.
Well, we knew that at some point she would have to win one of these.
Oh yeah,
it's just a guarantee, but it didn't feel like this was supposed to be the year to me.
Yeah, it's just it feels, considering who the two people are as champions right now, and it wouldn't even matter too much if it's like Charlotte wins this year if it wasn't the two people that were champions, because like the last two people that are champions are basically the last two people that she's had major feuds with, and so she's going to have to feud with one of them again over the championship.
So let's try to play glass half full, glass half empty on this. You got to think of a good scenario that you would be happy with, and you got to think of, unfortunately, something that's probably going to happen on the bad side of things. I guess let's start with the bad, because why not? I am very nervous that what they're going to do here is just Becky versus Charlotte. Or
yeah, that's pretty certain what they're going to do.
That this is their means of having Becky versus Charlotte versus Shayna, is they're just going to have some kind of a match at Elimination Chamber. Like Baszler is going to work her way into the match. And that they put Charlotte in the match because they think that, again, that Shayna and Becky is just not good enough without Charlotte in there.
I think that's unlikely. Personally, I don't feel like Baszler will get involved in it now. I almost feel like Baszler will probably just stick around in NXT for a bit, doing whatever, and then you'll have you'll just have Charlotte versus. I imagine what we're going to get is Charlotte versus Becky Lynch 1-on-1 at WrestleMania.
I just couldn't care less about that.
Well, in fairness, and this is like obviously stretching the term fairness as loosely as possibly can, there's really no bigger match they can put on, and that's their fault for not building anyone else up big enough. The only match you could say Baszler's a better match or a bigger match because that's never happened before, at least not 1-on-1. But Baszler's still a pretty unknown commodity outside of the hardcore fan base that follows NXT. And so Charlotte is the biggest name on the women's side of things alongside Becky Lynch. So if two people have to face each other for the title, it should almost by rights be them. But it's just they've done it so many times that this is becoming and it's not like it's an epic feud. They've had some really good matches, but it's feeling a bit more like John Cena, Randy Orton rather than Rock, Steve Austin. That sort of thing.
It's more so they've had so many matches, and that's why they think that it's epic, because it just keeps going on forever, as opposed to, wow, everything is so great about it that you can't wait to see the next chapter in it. It's more so, well, this just has a lot of chapters. And, this great epic book that's the size of a mountain, but if you boil down all the, boil it down, take your drink from me saying that. Um, if you read War and Peace or whatever the hell long ass book would be, and you're like, all right, well, there's a couple pages that are good here, like that kind of thing. It's not quite the same meaning of epic.
Yeah, I mean, we should also talk about a few other aspects of the Rumble, which was that Sasha Banks wasn't in the match,
Yeah, Sasha not in it at all.
which, according to like reports that are circulating, is the fact that she's injured, and so she couldn't compete in the match. So, so we don't know if this was like a fallback thing or anything like that, but I imagine if Sasha Banks had been in the match, then it at least would have been structured a little bit differently. I'm not saying she definitely would have won, but it might have just changed the flow of the match slightly. I'm wondering who the person they added to the match who wasn't Sasha Banks, because you have to imagine she would have been in their fault immediately.
I kind of feel like maybe that would have been somebody just like Candace.
Yeah,
Just bring in
potentially.
some, or maybe Mercedes Martinez, maybe because they couldn't have just been like at the last minute call up Kelly.
Well, I think it would have been someone from the NXT show who was on the previous show. So I think it would have been someone like either Mia Yim or Tony Storm.
Yeah. Actually, Tony Storm probably makes a good sense for that.
And then there was no Ronda Rousey, and Ronda Rousey posted a very funny Instagram post of
like
just
that.
basically her face saying, "Oh, did you really expect me to be in the Rumble?" or something like that. It was just, it was and no Paige either. So those return rumors were not correct. But yeah, I'm underwhelmed by the choice of winner, but the match itself I thought was very good.
So we still don't have times yet as far as who's the shortest time and everything. Some people are gonna throughout this night, maybe into tomorrow, we're gonna get some more times here and there. I'm not gonna go through the process of trying to take a stopwatch and do it myself, but I will eventually update everything on the statistics page and elsewhere. So that'll be like something for like the hot tags or something like that. But at the very least, right now, it's looking like Chelsea Green probably lasted the least amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe there's a chance that like Santina was quicker, but I don't think so.
No, because he did a bit of a standoff with him. It definitely wasn't. Chelsea Green's time is officially 12 seconds. I think Morello was in there for quite a bit longer.
Yeah,
Maybe about 30 seconds here.
Liv Morgan was in there longer than that. I'm trying to think of who else was kind of quick. Tamina was pretty quick.
I think she was in there longer because at least she got some offense in and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's more than likely it's Chelsea was the shortest time.
Yeah,
and some people that had quite a long time. Alexa lasted a while. Bianca Belair lasted a little bit longer than she did, so she would beat her out. It
has to be either Bianca or Charlotte.
Yeah, the more likely is either one of those two, and I would lean a little bit more towards Charlotte, but we're gonna have to kind of get that down to the wire. At least as far as eliminations go, though, Bianca and Baszler both tied at 8. So Flair was one of my picks going in for that, and she got half that many. She got 4. So anybody who picked Bianca Belair or Shayna Baszler is the most eliminations. There you go. You got that. And our final 4 and all the other kind of stuff we already broke down. So yeah, if we're looking glass half full about this, where do you think they go in this direction that you would be happy about? It's kind of tough.
Frankly, there isn't one. I mean, what realistically could they do from this situation? There were 2 realistic things they could have done, which was they could have had Lacey Evans beat Bayley for the title, or they could have had Asuka beat Becky Lynch for the title. But obviously, spoiler alert, neither of those things happen. So we're either getting Charlotte Flair facing Bayley, which has already happened in the past 6 months, or Becky Lynch versus Charlotte Flair, which has happened pretty much on a repeat basis for the last 2 or 3 years.
Even more than that at this point.
No, they were friends before that.
Well, you had the whole like them feuding a little bit in NXT and stuff. They've done. Yeah. It's kind of like ramped up more in the past 2 years, but they've done a lot for years now. Way too many.
I just don't know what they can do with that match. I mean, you can obviously add a stipulation to it or anything else, but Yeah, I just don't know what it'll be. I imagine we're going to get some sort of promo segment next on Raw with Becky Lynch talking about how she's got the monkey of Asuka off her back or whatever, and then she's going to talk about, oh, I guess I'm going to have to be facing Charlotte, like the itch that I just can't scratch, that type of promo.
Ugh.
And yeah, it's just, but then again, Charlotte hasn't said who she's going to challenge yet. But I just don't know what you can do in this situation.
If you throw out the word realistically, what can they do?
Realistically,
Because
in
if
terms of a
you
best case scenario, realistically, what they can do is they can take the title off Bailey and put it on someone else, and then have Charlotte challenge them
yeah, but
because they won't drop the title off Becky.
if you go in an unrealistic way, maybe she fights Rhea Ripley at Takeover.
Yeah, that would
It's
be
not gonna happen. I mean,
no.
at all. But
Well,
like, if
we've
she
heard
says the idea that like she wants to take back the fact that it's like her roster and NXT, the women won. You know,
yeah.
maybe that's a way to get people to tune in to take over the night before.
I mean, we have also heard rumors that NXT is going to have matches on the actual WrestleMania card as well. And maybe that's just if Charlotte was to just go and say, I've already faced Becky Lynch enough. I know I can beat her. I faced Bailey. I know I can beat her. But there's someone in NXT who I don't know if I can beat yet, and I want to see how good I am against her. And that's Rhea Ripley. It makes NXT feel a lot bigger.
Yeah, it really puts them on par because they've been saying for a while you move up to the main roster, and this year they've been really harping on this whole point that you move over to the main roster, you don't move up because it's not like a graduation, it's that all three brands are the same. And if you had somebody win the Royal Rumble and challenge the NXT champion, then that's a big difference, you know? Maybe that's one of the reasons why they're trying this idea of switching the NXT Women's Champion thing with the NXT Championship. Another means to try to, you know, change the perception of that.
Well, NXT was already a big deal in this Rumble because if you obviously count both NXT and NXT UK, 12 of the participants in this match were representing NXT. And that's compared to only 7 from Raw and about 7 from SmackDown as well.
Hmm.
Yeah, so I guess 8 if you count Naomi as part of SmackDown. But yeah,
she should be a part of SmackDown.
But this whole field was pretty much covered with NXT talent. So that no wonder it was so good. To have NXT people in it.
That's the thing is, I like this match. I just don't like the fact that Flair won. I think I would have been a lot happier if it would have just been the more predictable Shayna Baszler thing. And I guess we're going to have to see where they go because maybe there is a chance they go in some kind of an interesting direction. But if their plan is just it's Flair versus Lynch again, then fucking snooze.
Yeah, that's pretty dope.
I can already tell you that there won't be any special, like, you know, I'm going to write up an article about this time because I'm sick and tired of talking about that. I'll Brock Lesnar rule that feud. That's what I'll do.
I saw someone again on Twitter, and I'll call him out because I used to write for Daily DDT when I used to do the wrestling writing thing before I got a real job, and and they were calling out the fact that they found it refreshing and surprising that Charlotte Flair said that she was going to win the Rumble and did. And I said, imagine finding it like refreshing and surprising that Charlotte Flair is going to be fighting for a women's championship for the 5th straight WrestleMania.
I mean, if everybody says they're going to win the Royal Rumble, then when somebody wins it, they already said that. So it happens every year. So that's not how's that refreshing?
Or just the point of like Charlotte's fought in every single women's championship match since WrestleMania 32. So yeah, of course she's going to be fighting for a women's championship. It's like the least surprising thing. The big surprise would have been if she wasn't like featured in that scene this year. To be like, oh wow, they actually are changing up the women's division slightly, but no, they're just going back to basics. Charlotte Flair in a main event match.
We'll see. Making me more and more happy that I didn't spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars on WrestleMania tickets. That's for sure. And we moved on to Bayley retaining the title, the SmackDown Women's title, I should say, against Lacey Evans in a flat, uninteresting 10-minute match.
Yeah, well, I would say, obviously, even though I can't say I'm super enthusiastic about Charlotte Flair facing Becky Lynch again for the title, it's going to be way better than this match was.
It should
This
be at the very least, because this was just ugh.
this sucked. It's really, really, and it's not like the action was bad, or there were a huge number of botches, although there were a couple. It's just it was so uninspired. Nobody cared about it. Nobody really is super behind Lacey Evans. But I feel like Evans is actually the better half of this. Not so much like in ring side of things, but at least people somewhat care about Lacey Evans. I feel Bayley, this heel turn is dreadful. Apps like it had one good moment. We had a couple of. It had the initial turn, which was good, of her chopping down all of the like Bayley buddies, and then her saying bitch on a promo a couple of times to try and like stir things up. And then ever since then, she's just a person. She has no character.
And it kind of makes you wonder if she had spent so long kind of feeling like she wanted to turn heel, you'd think that she would have thought about a bunch of ideas of what she would like to do that would be, I mean, of course, maybe they don't let her, but yeah, it's very uninspired.
I'm pretty sure she said in an interview recently that she said that her heel character isn't working right now.
Well, at least she's acknowledging it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's pretty obvious that it's just there's a real problem with this now, because Bayley was supposed to be a sure thing when she came in as the babyface. Like, how can you fuck up Bayley was the big talking point, and then they fucked up Bayley, and now they turned her heel to try and freshen her back up, and it's fucked her up even worse.
I'm just imagining a crowd chanting, "How can you fuck up Bayley?"
Well, they should do that. They could do that for basically like half the roster at this point. But
That's true.
but yeah, it's bizarre how like she's just lost so much of anything that was really drawing or magnetic about her character. And the fact that Sasha's not available right now, and we don't know how long this injury is going to be for, so maybe they can use that, or like she'll be fine by the time WrestleMania rolls around. They can build towards that match. But yeah, it's just this was pretty bad.
And again, like we were talking beforehand about the idea of coming out of this feeling stronger about any particular situation, I'm feeling worse about the SmackDown Women's title situation now.
Yeah,
that's pretty bad going into it already.
Yeah, it was pretty bad by the point where because I'm not a huge fan of Lacey Evans. I think she definitely has a lot of potential, but it shows how bad it is when I'm kind of hoping that Bayley drops the title to her just so it's something different and it's not on Bayley anymore. Because Bayley's a really good worker and she does have aspects of her character and personality that are great, but it's just right now in this role with her character, I just don't get any sort of vibe from her that she knows what this character is or what it's doing.
You know, it's weird. I'd almost rather see, and I kind of feel like other people would too. Not everybody, of course, but the way that things are going down, I'd almost rather want to see Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville fight for the title.
Yeah, I would as well. That sounds like a lot more interesting one.
Like, do some kind of weird, like, Bayley drops it to, I don't know, to Mandy with Otis's help, and then Sonya's pissed about it, or and that starts something, or yeah, something like that. I feel like people will get more invested in this.
Yeah,
maybe Otis is special guest referee or something like that.
Well, how would that serve it? It's like he was. What the big story is that Sonya Deville turns, and because can't exactly like have. She was the one that was romantically linked with Otis instead.
Right, yeah,
the full lesbian was.
Nah, all right. So he can't be a special guest referee. He could be a special enforcer of some sort on her behalf.
Yeah.
And Sonya could have somebody else. I don't know who. Tucker. There you go. Just why not? Yeah, Universal Championship strap match, and Bray Wyatt retains the title by pinfall over Daniel Bryan in a match that I thought was, if not as boring as the Bayley and Evans match, boring in an entirely different way. Did not like this at all.
I thought this was good. I didn't think it was great, but Daniel Bryan, in my opinion, at the very least, got a good match out of The Fiend. The first good match out of The Fiend, probably since his debut match with Finn Balor.
I feel like the strap did nothing but hinder everybody.
It definitely
And
hindered Bryan's body. God, that he looked really, really beat up by the end of that.
like we didn't get a strap match that followed the strap match rules. So it was just a regular match where people were strapped together. So they
Well,
whipped each other, and Bray Wyatt's just this whole slow, not selling things, acting like a gorilla once in a while type. I don't like it. I've given it more than enough chances, and it's just not working for me.
it was definitely very slow, and I guess they'd call it methodical in places. I appreciate the fact the red lights have gone.
Yeah, that's one of the positives. But maybe that's because they couldn't do that with the strap thing.
I thought Bryan played a really good babyface, and that was the thing that kind of carried it through. It wasn't so much the Fiend stuff because they've kind of reduced him down. Like it's almost like this shit all get off the pot type thing, where you can't have him as a monster and then have him selling for a babyface all the time as well. You kind of have to have one or the other. So either he kills Bryan in a matter of minutes, or you actually just make him a guy. And that there seems to be an odd middle ground at the moment. But I still feel like the match itself was good just because Bryan is so good at what he does. I mean, this was Bryan carrying Wyatt to another good match, and realistically, he's one of the only people that's carried Wyatt to a good match in his career. So there are a few good spots, and I like the DDT on the table, and the transition from the mandible claw into the bell lock was good. Using the strap across the mask as well. There was some nice elements thrown into it. I thought especially when you did put the label lock on, the crowd really got behind it. But then as soon as Wyatt turned him over and started beating him down, you could feel the oxygen just go out of the arena.
Yeah, I
Well,
think
at
I
least
had
they've turned him
added
heel.
that into my one review about the crowd woke up with a label lock, and then about it.
Yeah, at least they've turned him heel. So that's a success at the very least.
I just wasn't feeling this at all, and I feel like at this point now there's been enough matches. He's fought Daniel Bryan twice. He fought The Miz. He fought Seth Rollins. I feel like we have to just say, for me at the very least, it's just more proof that I just don't really like Bray Wyatt, and that means that I can already write off if Bray Wyatt is still champion going into WrestleMania, and I'm assuming that that's the case, and I'm still assuming that he's going to fight Roman Reigns. I'm not going to like that match.
Well, at least we know that well, I don't say no, but we can assume that Wyatt's opponent will be settled in the Elimination Chamber.
It should at the very least, but I wouldn't put it past them not to.
Well, I can only guess that Wyatt won't. Or either Wyatt is defending the title in Elimination Chamber, and they settle the number one contender some other way, or the number one contender is being sorted in the Elimination Chamber, which would make sense because it means that Wyatt doesn't have to compete at Elimination Chamber and just save him to the WrestleMania match.
Well, we know we got the Super Showdown.
Yeah, he's going to have a match with Kane there.
Yeah, so. But I mean, we could do a number one contenders match there. I don't think that's where they're going to go, but I mean, if I were the one making the decisions, I would make that Elimination Chamber a number one contenders match because it works that way. It's if you didn't win the Royal Rumble, you got to go through another grueling match to get your title shot. Makes more sense to me than the champion has to go through it.
Yeah, that's the way it should be.
So Bray Wyatt retains. Then we have the Raw Women's Championship match. Becky Lynch retaining against Asuka in a match that I didn't think the crowd gave enough attention to, but I thought this was a pretty good match.
Yeah, I thought this was the best non-Rumble match.
Yeah,
out of the entire card. I thought this was really good. It was really physical. They did some nice combination stuff. That face planted suplex off the apron onto Asuka was really, really brutal to spot. But the crowd was too quiet, and they were quiet the entire night. And I feel like that's on them for this match, as opposed to that's on the workers for not getting their attention. Because I feel like they did a lot in this match to try and get them interested and excited. And I think by the end of it, they were more into it. But yeah, the crowd should have given this more credit.
Yeah, they did a whole thing with Asuka putting up as much of a fight as they really could have without making Becky look weak. Becky comes out looking strong at the end, but she doesn't have to steamroll Asuka to be able to do that. So they had their cake and they ate it too, and they got a good feud and they got a good match out of a situation where they had no number one contender they could have possibly really gone with. It's one of those
Yeah,
rare instances where they set themselves up for failure and they just happen to luck into things working out.
yeah, it's amazing how Asuka can do that for you,
Yeah.
because it's almost like she's the best worker on the entire, well, one of the best workers on the entire roster, and can kind of make everything good. Yeah, I thought that I saw a lot. I'd say a lot of people, but a few people online talking about how that spot towards the end where Asuka kicks Lynch and knocks her lights out, and the referee's about to call for the bell. Thought that might have been, oh, that's in bad taste off the Alexander Wolf thing. It's like,
Yeah.
come on, come on. This, first of all, there's a good chance that was already decided before the Alexander Wolf thing even happened. And secondly, the guys said that he was fine, so he's
Yeah.
not hurt. And it was a cool moment anyway, because it was like it showed how Becky was desperate to make sure that Asuka didn't win the match, or like I can't let her win this way, that type of thing. And I thought it led to a really good near fall when Asuka did kick her again and then went for the 2 count. I thought that was really well done, and the finish was great as well, with like the green mist just shooting into the air. That was a really good visual.
Yeah.
So
So before we get into the main event, throw out a couple plugs just because why not do it now? The Patreon is something that you should be aware of. If you are not aware of it, then here's a quick breakdown. That is where you can donate a little bit of spare change that you have our way to help us grow, help us keep the lights on. If it's $1, that's greatly appreciated. If it's even more than that, then obviously that is even more appreciated. And if you reach the $10 tier, then you get access to Patreon exclusive Dark Cast episodes. And if you hit up the Pick Your Poison tier, then you can actually request different kind of gimmicks that we can do on the side. That maybe, there's a topic that you have been really wanting us to do, and we don't have the time for it, and we will make the time to be able to do that. And that's something that we've done with the fan outs table for the 2007 Royal Rumble, and we got plenty of different options. Just scroll through the website's different lists of different types of topics. Because if you want superstar scores, or you want something like I don't know, Belt or Bury, or Call the Spot, or there's lots of different options, or just kind of some kind of an article, whatever it is. Keep that in mind. Also, there are the TeePublic and Redbubble shops for merchandise. That's another way for you to take that spare change and toss it towards the Smart Out Moment side of things. But that's for, t-shirts and stickers and mugs and clocks and all sorts of different types of stuff like that. So lots of different designs on Smart Out Moment for both of those, TeePublic and Redbubble. There's also the different shops for merchandise on the Fanboys Anonymous and A Mango Tees side of things. If you don't know what Fanboys Anonymous is, that is my movie review website and the place where I talk about all different types of geek culture outside of pro wrestling. So if you're interested in those types of things, head on over there. And if you want to see that site and that YouTube channel grow even more, follow all that stuff over there, the YouTube page, the Facebook, the Twitter, etc., etc. Donate to that Patreon, and so on and so forth. So let's talk about the 30-man Royal Rumble match.
Oh, hang on. First, let's talk about the Street Profits back beatboxing.
Yeah.
Because they're so happy about like just to do some beatboxing and some nice hyping up the Rumble, and not mad at all that neither of them is going to compete in it, because they're both a bunch of geeks.
They're getting a paycheck by standing backstage and just humming themes.
Oh yeah, I mean, I mean, to be fair, I would like to be in their position because of that. But it still seems a bit odd that they're not in any way annoyed or upset that they don't get to compete in this match that they're hyping up as being so important.
Well, there's plenty of people that even were announced to be in this that didn't end up competing in this.
Mm.
We didn't get officially entered into the match. Buddy Murphy, he was supposed to be part of it. We didn't get Bobby Lashley. We didn't get Rusev.
So they were written out because of a backstage brawl that took place earlier in the night that we didn't get to see.
Which is a really stupid way of doing things.
Why didn't they just film it?
Yeah.
Like, why couldn't they just film them brawling? Did they just like not bother to have them fly out for the show?
Shit, why couldn't they have done that on the 2 hours of the pre-show that were a complete waste of time?
Mm.
Very easily could have just had one backstage segment during that pre-show of the two of them fighting each other, and I don't know, John Cone comes out and just goes like, "Get out of here, guys! All right, you can't be fighting back here. You got to leave the arena." Oh, we got 2 more spots to fill. Who's gonna fill those spots? I don't know. Maybe you want to tune into the fucking pay-per-view. That's the point of the pre-show. So dumb. Oh god, I hate when they do stuff like that. We
Yeah.
didn't get Otis and Tucker in this. Now, that's not too surprising because we got Otis in the women's Royal Rumble spot, and Tucker was the one that we kept making fun of the fact, like, why has Tucker got a spot in this?
Yeah. And Odd Troop was the other one.
Yeah, but he had undeclared himself, so I didn't really fully count that one.
Mm.
But we start off with Brock Lesnar. It turns into number 2 being Elias, and his song is called Sacrificial Lamb.
Yeah, the crowd. It shows how far Elias has fallen in that he tries to get the crowd to start singing, "Oh, walk with Elias," in that tune, like, "Oh, walk with Elias," and nobody's doing it at all. Maybe like a handful of people are doing it, and he's like, "Hey, Brock, they're singing my name." It's like, no, they're not. They don't care about you anymore. And so Brock Lesnar comes out, charges him, hits him with a guitar, which doesn't seem to be gimmicked in any way, shape, or form. Like, just hits him with a real guitar and then throws him out.
And that would start the long, long, long train of me copying and pasting the phrase X is eliminated by Brock Lesnar. And just filling in the blanks because it was number 3, Eric Rowan, tossed out immediately. Robert Roode, number 4, tossed out immediately. John Morrison, number 5, tossed out even quicker. Kofi Kingston, number 6. Oh, he lasts a little bit. And Rey Mysterio comes in at number 7. And Big E comes in at number 8. And everybody in the basement, they're all like, oh, okay, well, this makes sense. And I had said ahead of time, I was like, I think that number 6 is probably going to be where they stop doing this maybe a little bit. And one person, Frank, was just like, well, technically Tony's right. Like, Kofi didn't get eliminated yet. And I'm like, yeah, but watch this. All 3 of them are going to get eliminated. And all 3 of them get eliminated. So that means we did not get Morrison saving himself, nor Big E, not Big E, Kofi Kingston saving himself. So the 2 people that I was most looking forward to doing some kind of a special spot, nope. Disappointing.
Oh, this was awesome. This entire thing was awesome from start to finish.
You might be surprised that I don't hate this.
No, I think because it turned out the way it turned out, it makes it even better. And so while this was going on, I was kind of like, I was enjoying it because I like what Lesnar does, but I was thinking, well, okay, this can't go on forever though. And it felt at one point that, like, oh god, this is going to go on forever. But then they rectified it eventually. But I thought I love the fact that it was Kofi Kingston, Rey Mysterio, and Big E were the ones that kind of got a bit of a head of steam on Lesnar, because it was the idea that, wow, you got Kofi Kingston, who lost the title so quickly to Lesnar, and Rey Mysterio, who's the last guy to feud with Lesnar over the title, and Big E, who's Kofi's friend, doing all of that stuff. So yeah, it was good storytelling as well.
Here's a nitpick. See if you agree or disagree. And obviously, of course, everybody listening, drop your comments below if you agree or disagree. I think that the number 6 John Morrison spot, or number 5 John Morrison spot, should have been Ricochet instead.
No. Based on what happened and what Ricochet was involved in, that was the right thing to do.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, okay, never mind. I'm forgetting about his involvement in that. Okay, so no, never mind. Scratch that. Replace that with somebody else.
If you left that comment below agreeing with Tony, you're wrong, because he's wrong as well. So
no, if you left that comment agreeing with me, then yeah, you are wrong. I forgot about his little involvement of the other part. So yeah, I think that maybe somebody else would have been. I think that John Morrison should have been somewhere more in the mix, where he's just come back and they just made him another sacrificial lamb, and it's disappointing. I know it's not the biggest deal in the world, but still, that's a nitpick for mine.
Yeah, I can kind of agree with that, but I thought it was kind of made up for the fact that at least his elimination was cool. I've never seen anyone get bellied over the top rope with that sort of velocity before.
Then we had Cesaro. He gets taken out. We had Shelton Benjamin. This was a fun little spot because they're friends, and that he kind of acts like he's going to be just working alongside him. He gives him a couple hugs and all that, and then German suplex and throws him out because fuck you.
I kind of appreciate that, especially with the Cesaro one as well first, because that was kind of a dream match that everyone's kind of talked about. Is let's put Lesnar and Cesaro together, and you kind of see it for what it could be like for 30 seconds, or whatever, and then he's eliminated. But I thought this was the territory we were just getting on. Okay, so we need to find people that in some way link to Brock Lesnar, or people want to see have matches with Brock Lesnar, and just see what happens, really. And that's cool.
And then we had the Shinsuke Nakamura win, which they've got their little bit of history together.
Yeah, from New Japan.
And then we got a surprise. Number 12 is MVP.
This was one of my highlights, because it wasn't just like MVP coming back, because obviously MVP's great, and so it was great to see him come back. But Lesnar dancing to MVP's theme music in the ring. Lesnar's the greatest. I don't care what you say. I don't care about the Brock Lesnar rule.
Well, see, when Lesnar's doing stuff like this, and he's actually like playing a character that's beyond just literally. I mean, I've said it before. I'll say it again. When Brock just does F5 German suplex, F5 German suplex, German suplex, German suplex, German suplex, German suplex, F5 German suplex, and leaves, and then when he comes back, Paul Heyman cuts the same promo, and then he does the German suplex 6 times and then an F5. It's like, oh my god, there is nothing to this. But when we get Beatbox Brock and we get him dancing to the MVP thing, and even in a scenario with it like this, where it's like you're running through the gauntlet and he's just tossing people out left and right, then I like it. Because that's his character. And he actually has character.
Yeah.
You know? So this was fun. Like, I liked that.
MVP he chases around Heyman a little bit and then gets into the ring, and I'm surprised that MVP took an F5.
Yeah.
Just because, like, he's just come back. Well, like, he comes back for a celebrity spot, essentially. Like, this guy is a former superstar. Like, I'm just surprised he decided to take such a big spot.
Well, maybe he could justify it by saying, like, well, he needed to put his finisher to do his finisher to put me down, as opposed to being like, he just eliminated me with like a back body drop or something.
I assume this is just the one and done. Though.
Maybe. He's not signed anywhere, is he?
Not that I'm aware of, but I know he's definitely in at least his late 40s now.
I kind of feel like he must have signed, he signed some kind of a deal recently with like MLW or something. Blanking off the top of my head about it. I don't know. He might not have. But I feel like it's like Ring of Honor or somewhere like that he might have done that. And if that's the case and they let him do this, then that's cool.
Yeah, I as far as I can tell, like, he's on a mixture of the independent circuit and WWE appearance, and it says WWE appearances on his Wikipedia. So I don't think he's officially super signed anywhere.
I can't seem to really find anything about it right now.
Is it the last time he was contracted to MLW was 2018?
Yeah, there's stuff about Shotzi Blackheart, finish up his wrestling career, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, so maybe he is free. So that's kind of cool if that's the case. Maybe he'll pop up a little bit here and there. Then we had entry number 13. It was Keith Lee. And Keith Lee standing next to Brock Lesnar.
That was cool.
Keith Lee gets a little bit of some shots in there. Entry number 14 is Braun Strowman. And then we start getting, it's the 3 biggest guys, I think, in WWE right now.
I immediately started typing, oh my god, we're about to have a big man buffet. Right in the middle of this rumble. I thought I was like, all fingers and toes crossed. Walter's got to be next. I thought this has to be Walter, and he ended up not being, because Lesnar ends up like German suplexing all of them because they all get into a fight with each other, and he eventually eliminates both of them at the same time, which is a cool spot as well. But I was just hoping that Walter was going to be in and just have these 4 giant dudes just beating the shit out of each other for a few minutes.
You got to look at the Lee and Strowman and Lesnar stuff, and you got to see some money there.
That should be I would like to see that triple threat match, but to be fair, I kind of just want to see Lesnar against Lee.
More so than the Strowman part, yeah.
Yeah, because Strowman and Lesnar have had enough of exchanges. They don't really need to have another one.
At the very least, Lee versus Lesnar looks like it could be something that could be a big deal. Maybe a year from now.
Yep.
So they get eliminated. We are halfway through the Royal Rumble, and every single person has been eliminated by Brock Lesnar.
Could I use the halfway point to kind of talk about one of the... Well, there's 2 overarching problems with this Rumble for me, and for the most part, again, don't want to bury the lead too much, but I thought this was an awesome Royal Rumble. But the commentary was really hurting my experience of this entire thing.
I wasn't actually paying attention to it too much. I had too much going on.
No,
It was
I tried.
Booker and
It was Cole.
Cole and Lawler.
No, Cole and Grace.
Lawler was the women's match.
Yeah, it was mainly Cole because Cole was at his, and I know I have a go at him a lot, but he was at his real corporate shield best because everything he said, like, oh, NXT, catch that at 8 p.m. Eastern time or whatever and stuff like that. And I think he said when like Corbin was eliminated, he was talking about Humpty Dumpty at some point. Just like it was setting new standards for bad commentary, even by WWE's already very low standards, and also the camera work. But we'll talk about that in more other instances. But overall, they were just two constant things. They definitely didn't spoil the experience for me, but they were definitely hurting rather than helping this match out.
We are midway through the Royal Rumble, and we get entry number 15. The actual midway point is Ricochet. And here's where we were alluding to earlier, which you brought up. It reminded me of it. The fact that Ricochet did have a part to play in this that I had completely forgotten about for some fucking reason. I don't know why. But he doesn't get eliminated as fast as I thought that he would. I thought that Lesnar would just toss him over because at that point he would have broken the record. So he's tied at 13 eliminations at this point. He and Braun Strowman have the most amount of eliminations per Royal Rumble. And Ricochet lands just enough for number 16 to come out, and it is Drew McIntyre. And Ricochet nails Lesnar in the crotch, and Drew McIntyre hits the Claymore, takes out Brock, and this is a weird scenario. Right afterward, Ricochet gets thrown out by Drew McIntyre. And I'm like, I don't know, that threw me off a little bit because right afterward too, and we're going to backtrack a little bit, but right after that, The Miz gets brought in and quickly eliminated by Drew McIntyre. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, are we just doing this? Is this going to be the whole thing? Is just now we're switching the McIntyre eliminates each one person one by one kind of a thing? Like,
I thought that would be the case until somebody reasonably big came out to just like have a bit of a showdown with him. So when AJ Styles came out, I thought, okay, they're stopping this now and they're actually going to have like a standard Rumble match, as it were. But this whole segment of the match was so perfect. This felt for the first time in at least months, maybe even years, that they were building a star. And they were going to build him in one night. And that was Drew McIntyre, who they've been like simmering a little bit for the last couple of weeks, but with that one Claymore kick over the top rope, the crowd just goes absolutely insane. You're like, okay, you've got a star on your hands now. You've got a guy that you can really, really push to the top to be a real big deal. And
now, at this point, were you thinking that he had a better shot than anybody to win, or were you thinking that something was going to happen?
I thought as soon as he eliminated Lesnar that he wasn't going to win because you've already set up the match for Lesnar now.
Yeah.
So I thought, okay, so SmackDown guy's winning it. But obviously things happened the way they did, and I think that was for the better. But I think it's important to mention the Ricochet low blow because I feel like that's probably set up a match between Ricochet and Lesnar for Elimination Chamber. Or maybe Saudi Arabia if they decide to do that there.
I still kind of don't expect him to wrestle anymore, but
he'll wrestle Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, I think it's more likely he'd wrestle in Saudi than Elimination Chamber.
I think that'll be the match. It'll be Lesnar against Ricochet.
Especially because, I mean, at this point, if we know where we're going for the Elimination Chamber for the whole Bray Wyatt thing, then there doesn't have to be one on the Raw side, and then they can kind of get away with something like that and do some kind of extra sort of thing. So they might do like Ricochet versus Brock and just have it be like he beats the shit out of Ricochet, which that kind of sucks, but
Well, Lesnar has some of his best matches against smaller guys, so I imagine it'll still be good.
Yeah, I was thinking at this point, because Brock was still hanging around, I'm like, he's going to come into the ring and he's going to eliminate McIntyre and we're going to reset again.
Yeah, I thought so as well. But I loved how Lesnar sold that entire thing. Because they do the segment where McIntyre's just beating up people and sending them out for a little while, but then he's just constantly staring at Lesnar at the outside. and then Lesnar's just slowly getting to his feet like he's been knocked pretty much unconscious by that Claymore kick. Then he gets out, and then he's just led away by Heyman, just staring daggers at McIntyre. That was, again, really, really well done.
And we moved on. It's AJ Styles, it's Dolph Ziggler, it's Carl Anderson. And as far as I remembered, they didn't announce Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows ahead of time.
Well, I imagine these are the two they quote-unquote brought in to replace
Lashley and Rusev.
Yeah, Lashley and Rusev. Because realistically, that kind of in a kayfabe way makes sense. Because in storyline, Rusev and Bobby Lashley were taken out of the match a couple of hours before the match was going to take place. So who could they really wrangle in time to take in? It's not like you're going to call MVP up and just say, do you happen to be in Houston right now? So it's like, so his one was always going to happen. So they decided, okay, we'll bring in these two because they're already going to be here because they travel with AJ Styles and he's already in the match. So they get to take his place instead.
Of course, at that point, you start poking holes because, well, they already had more than the 30 people anyway because the Otis Tucker, Buddy Murphy, Lashley, Rusev, like you
still perfect.
3 more. But yeah, I mean, you're not supposed to pay attention to that. It's wrestling. Just shut up and, that kind of thing. But then we get our entry number 21, and it is Edge. And the cameramen are like, don't shoot him.
Yeah, that was so bad.
This is like the AJ Styles thing when he makes his return, and it's like, how would you possibly want to go to any shot other than that? And they did it for like 3 shots in a row that were like, this very clearly should not be the shot that you were on. Awful camera work. Terrible.
But still, amazing moment.
Very cool. Very cool to see that Edge came back looking great.
He's in great shape, yeah.
And, crowd goes absolutely crazy the way that they should. And we have King Corbin come out after that. And I'm like, oh my God, we were talking about this whole idea of me going like, I hope that King Corbin takes out Edge and all that.
Yeah,
like,
I thought that as well.
If he does that, I'm going to never hear the end of it at the end of this podcast. But AJ Styles.
I was going to say that Edge was kind of welling up as he came to the ring as well, which was just you could see the emotion on his face, which was cool.
Yeah, that was very cool. Edge was always one for showing his emotion. I always really liked that. Like if he won a title, he felt like it was like, oh my God, I won the title. And even though he did it like 13, 14 times. But we get AJ Styles eliminated by Edge. And did you get the feeling that I did that this didn't go the way that it was supposed to go?
I kind of felt like that maybe he was supposed to hold on for a little while. And then maybe he just kind of lost his grip. But yeah, so that was a little off-putting. Maybe that wasn't supposed to go the way it was supposed to go. But I thought at the very least that, okay, they're building Edge versus AJ Styles at WrestleMania. And yes, 2 thumbs up to that.
Still thinking it's a little bit more on the edge of, on the side of Edge and Orton and somebody against the 3 members of the OC.
That could be.
They could just go with Edge and Styles. They could go with Edge and Orton. And the Styles thing could just be something in the meantime. I don't think that's where they're going to go, but yeah.
I think either way we're probably going to get at least an Edge match at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
Which is great. And if it is against AJ Styles, that's double great.
And entry number 23 is Matt Riddle. Supposedly Matt Riddle and Brock Lesnar had a little bit of a confrontation earlier in the night. Where Lesnar, so to speak, said like, hey, fuck you, pal.
Yeah, he makes some powerful enemies behind the scenes, Matt Riddle. But it's because it's Matt Riddle, they don't really seem to care that much. Or at least Triple H is always going to go to bat for him. This was my least favourite part of the actual match structure. Because, okay, so you've got Matt Riddle, and I guess it's a cool moment for him that he gets to be in a Royal Rumble match. But he does just like a few kicks on a load of people, and then he's immediately tossed out by Baron Corbin.
Yeah, pretty underwhelming.
Yeah, just like, you could just get anybody to be in that role. Why isn't that just R-Truth or Buddy Murphy or whatever? Like, why did you have to use Matt Riddle for that?
Especially because they kept him away from Brock Lesnar. So it wasn't even like, I mean, maybe even that would have been a good thing. Maybe Matt Riddle could have been in that John Morrison spot. Yeah,
I mean, if as long as he would like had a bit of an exchange with Lesnar and done a few stuff before getting eliminated, then that would be more impressive than, just coming in, kick a few people, and then just getting immediately tossed out by Baron Corbin of all people.
Well, you got to give Corbin something.
Yeah, it's just like, endless heat. It's ridiculous.
And we had Luke Gallows. That completes the OC trifecta. Randy Orton comes in. We get from that point on, we get a lot of Edge and Orton interacting with each other, so that was pretty cool.
And McIntyre eliminated Corbin as well by this point.
Yeah,
So.
McIntyre takes him out. Gallows and Anderson are eventually eliminated by both Edge and Orton, playing together
great.
with the Rated RKO. Roman Reigns comes in at 26, and people are not quite sure how to handle it.
Well, this is the thing. It's like he was cheered in the match against Corbin because overall he is a popular guy. But then when it's a Royal Rumble and there's a good chance that he's going to main event WrestleMania and fight for a world championship, that instinct of, oh my God, anybody but Roman Reigns kicks in and people just start booing it.
You give them alternatives and they're going to go in a different direction. Makes sense. And at this point, I'm thinking to myself, well, we've technically gotten everybody that they've said so far and a couple surprises, except for we didn't get Buddy Murphy, Seth Rollins, Samoa Joe, Kevin Owens, Otis, Tucker, Lashley, Rusev. And we knew that Lashley and Rusev wasn't going to be a thing. And I was like, all right, well, I'm pretty sure at this point we can rule out Buddy Murphy's probably not going to be in it. And Otis and Tucker definitely are not going to be in it. But I had completely forgotten about Aleister Black. So they go with Kevin Owens. And then Aleister Black comes out. I'm like, all right, now we're down to Joe and Rollins. Rollins has to be number 30. And of course, Joe's 29. Rollins is number 30. Rollins comes out with AOP and Buddy Murphy backing him up. So Buddy Murphy does get in the match, but not officially. So he didn't have to be eliminated, which I'm fine with. You know, it still told the same story. But
it was a little bit. I don't want to say. Obviously, they're building a story around Seth Rollins' troupe, and now it's against Owens and Joe and Black because they all got eliminated by Seth Rollins and his goons. So it made sense, especially the way they were going. But it just felt like, oh, this is going to be a pretty flat end to the Rumble. Just like these guys chucking everybody out or chucking a few people out before getting eliminated.
Who would you say right now you think, if they do, say, some like 8-man tag at Mania? You got Rollins, you got Buddy Murphy, you got AOP against 4 people. Joe and Owens seem like they're definitely a part of it.
Mm-hmm.
Aleister Black more than likely would be part of it. But then who's that other guy? Because Big Show seems like he's done already.
I'd say the possibility is probably a Ricochet. Throw him in. Rey Mysterio, if you wanted to like transition him over into this. Other than that, there's not a huge amount of options.
I can't think of any that I really feel like would be a strong candidate for it.
Not right now, but they do have several months before WrestleMania.
That's true. We got all of February, we got all of March. So maybe. Rollins and his crew take out Black, Owens, Joe. Then Rollins is taking out Drew McIntyre, and we're down to our final 4: Randy Orton, Edge, Roman Reigns, and Drew McIntyre. Pretty good final 4.
Yeah, the crowd was already chanting like, "This is awesome" at that point. Like, that's a strong final 4.
And we get a fun little moment. Orton is about to turn on Edge, and Edge catches him, and Orton's just like, well, come on, like, things happen, pal.
That's the complete opposite of what happened in the 2007 Rumble, because it's Edge who's gonna like spear Orton while he's holding a chair.
Yep.
And so they decide to do the opposite of that, and then Edge, in this case, eliminates Orton from the ring.
Yeah, I thought that was really cool. And we're down to Edge, Roman, and McIntyre. And at this point, it's very obvious that the crowd is pretty much like, all right, either of these guys except for Roman.
Well, I think they did it clever here. That the guy that was going to eliminate Edge was going to get booed. So they decided, okay, so the guy who eliminates Edge is going to be the runner-up.
Yeah.
So they did it smart. So you have Roman Reigns is the one to eliminate Edge. And then when it looks like Reigns is about to hit the spear or McIntyre bounces off the ropes, hits the Claymore, throws Reigns out. And yeah, they went full whole hog with Drew McIntyre.
Did not see that one coming. I mean, I had said ahead of time that I was thinking full-blown Cain Velasquez was going to do this whole thing.
And he wasn't even in the match.
He wasn't even in the match. Thank God, though, because as much as I am not feeling this Charlotte Flair win, the Drew McIntyre thing, very cool.
That was great, yeah. And yeah, it just feels like this is what the Rumble's supposed to be there for, to build a star. To make somebody who kind of on the cusp of the main event and make him into a full-blown main eventer in one night. and that's what it felt like here for the first time in probably quite a while, actually.
Now, I am
I would
still nervous, though, that this is just going to lead to their tendency to have the Royal Rumble winner lose at WrestleMania, and it's just going to be all for nothing. But at least for right now, Drew McIntyre's on that path that I like the best, which I like it when the Royal Rumble, ideally, if it's an option, is somebody wins it for the first time, they lead their way to WrestleMania, and they win their championship. That's my ideal type of babyface path for anything.
Yeah, absolutely. That'd be the best way of doing it. Yeah, I'm super happy with how this turned out. I thought this was the best Royal Rumble in at least a decade, probably even longer. It just had so much. It had like two halves to it. So you had one story at one side, which is the whole Lesnar thing, and then that's cut short by Drew McIntyre, and then it basically goes from being all about Lesnar's Rumble to being McIntyre's Rumble, and I really like that transition. So,
you know what I will say though, I don't think that this is going to hold up well.
I can only say that I will go back and watch this, and I think it will hold up well if it ends with McIntyre winning the title at WrestleMania. I think it needs to be placed in the context like that. I think it's just a really, really well told story of a Rumble, as opposed to just being there probably doesn't have the same level as like cool spots as some other Rumbles do have, but it has all the elements you want. You have like a dominant beast at the start of it that eventually gets like slain and taken out of it. You have like Edge as a big surprise return, and then a few other little surprise returns like MVP and like a few people from NXT that you weren't expecting. You have like building towards like matches at WrestleMania outside of the big championship match. Yeah, I thought this was just exceptional. We have to just talk about the fact that Roman Reigns, he continues his pretty remarkable Royal Rumble streak. The fact that he's competed in essentially every Royal Rumble he's ever competed in, he's either been runner-up, third place, or won it. Like, just
so he was in.
So his first Rumble was the 2014 one, which was Batista winning, lost, eliminating Reigns. After that was the one he won.
2015 he won. 2016 was Triple H.
Yeah, and he finished third.
Yeah, because Ambrose was second.
Yeah, and then 2017
was McIntyre and Nakamura eliminating him.
No, that was Orton.
It was Orton?
Yeah, it was Orton in 20. No, Orton in 2016. No,
2018 was Orton, I think.
I'm trying to. No, because because there was Styles versus. This was when Wyatt was champion.
Let's double check. One way or another, it was.
It was definitely it was definitely Orton in 2017. And then it was
you're right.
Nakamura in 2018. Yeah, but then both times Reigns was runner-up in both of those ones.
Yeah,
and then he's runner-up here because he wasn't in the last year's one because of the leukemia thing. So yeah, it's just a clear sign that if Reigns is in a Rumble, he's going to be right at the very end. So if you ever have like doing the Final Four predictions, Reigns has to be in there pretty much immediately.
Yeah, I think that's going forward. We need to make that just like a gimme spot.
That's the Reigns rule.
And we still, of course, don't know all the shortest and longest times for this. I would assume that Drew McIntyre is the longest.
It's either Drew McIntyre or Lesnar. It has to be one of those two.
Yeah, and Lesnar came in first, but got eliminated around the 16 mark. McIntyre came in 16, won the thing. So they're probably going to be pretty close to each other. Kind of depends on just how long the Final Four got dragged out.
I can't say with complete certainty, but it seems like the shortest time was either John Morrison or Eric Rowan.
Yeah, because Elias was in there at least longer than them. Rude.
Yeah, he was there longer.
Yeah, Rude was there longer than Rowan at the very least. That's for sure.
Well, Rowan's time in there was 8 seconds.
He was pretty quick. Morrison was pretty. I think that Rowan's probably the shortest. Now I'm thinking about it because I think that Morrison got a couple shots in.
Yeah, so we'll say Rowan provisionally for now.
And as far as the most eliminations go, that's pretty obvious. It is Shelton Benjamin. It's obviously Brock Lesnar. He is now tied the record for the most amount of eliminations per Royal Rumble. So that's another statistic I need to add into the mix. Other than that,
It is the highest for the 30-man variety.
yeah. And both he and Strowman are at 13, so if he would have just limited one more, he would have had another accolade that would have just been revolving around Brock Lesnar. But Drew McIntyre has the second most with 6, which is more on par with the average. It's usually around 7 or so. So, yeah, it's definitely the Lesnar and the McIntyre Royal Rumble featuring Edge. More than
Mhm.
anything else, I guess you could say.
I think that's a good way of synopsing it.
Yeah. So I enjoyed it. I don't think that it's going to be one that I will go back and rewatch a couple years from now and be like, this is so fun. But it might change based off of the context. You know, hindsight is 2020. Wrestling is 2020. We'll talk about that at some point too. And yeah, I'm feeling blah about some things. I'm feeling good about some things, and I'm feeling very negative about some other things. Kind of it's all across the board here. Like the Royal Rumble itself, 2 good matches for the Royal Rumble matches. Not digging one of the results, the Charlotte one. And the rest of the matches I thought were blah, if not just bad. Well, the Becky match was good. So I don't know. I don't know how to really like if I would give this a thumb up or a thumb down. It's like the 2 most important things are mostly thumbs up, but the rest of it not so much. But
I
I'm
think
not in a bad mood. I'll put it that way. Like I'm not, this isn't going to be labeled, like Crown Jewel sucked, like that kind of thing.
no, I feel like coming out of it, it's fairly positive, but I think that's mainly just due to the fact that I love that main event so much. I thought that, like I said, I thought that was the best Royal Rumble I've seen in years, and just not in terms of the overall show, but just the final match itself was just that carried it to being a really good show for me, despite some of the other matches not living up to expectations. I thought the women's match was good, even though I'm a bit confounded by who they chose to win the match, but hey ho, see what they do with it. Got to see the Becky Asuka match was very good. I thought that the Wyatt and Daniel Bryan match was good. I thought for the most part Reigns and Corbin was good, even though it was stretched out far too long. And other than that, all the rest of the stuff was kind of just middle of the road, if not just dull. So, but for the most part, in the 2 most important matches, they got like 95% right. So good on them.
Yeah, so obviously tell us your thoughts in the comment section below. What did you like? What did you dislike? What are you in the middle around for? All that other kind of stuff. And we will see how all of this plays out over the course of the next couple of months. The road to WrestleMania is officially underway, so things can change, things can get for the better, things can get for the worse. We might look back on this in April and think that this is the best or the worst thing that's ever happened. I don't know. But we will be there all the way talking about different things because we got plenty of other podcasts coming your way. But before I round things out by talking about what's coming up next, I'm going to give Callum a little chance to talk about what he's got cooking up.
Very little. It's a very empty stew at the moment. But you can follow me on Twitter at Weekmeister14 and check out the articles on smartcatman.com, including the Power Rankings, which is my weekly contribution. And since he didn't have a chance to share any of his stuff, I guess I'll say for on Rob's side of things, if you'd want to check out like Fightful Wrestling and WrestleZone and all the other places that he writes and contributes to, that he would appreciate that, and so we would appreciate that.
And of course, the next time you guys are going to be hearing from us as far as the podcast side of things go on the Smart Guy Moment channel is the hot tags. I don't entirely know all the hot tags that we're going to be breaking down. I actually haven't had the time to really double check about a lot of that stuff. So, hey, if you got any things in mind that you really want us to harp on, then drop a comment below and tell me, I'll help out quite a bit. But I know that we're going to be talking about some Royal Rumble statistics and kind of running that down a little bit now that we'll have a little bit more time to kind of go through that whole thing. I know we're going to talk about the Chronicle about John Morrison. I'll be watching that at some point tomorrow. And the 24 special of WrestleMania. So I got to watch that as well. And who knows what else. But that's happening. And then later on this week, we're going to do the mailbag for January, which is the Q1 mailbag as well, because as I mentioned a couple different times here, we are doing them quarterly now instead of monthly. So get in all the questions that you are interested in and send them as soon as possible. Don't send them Tuesday night where we might do it Wednesday morning, because then we're going to have no time to prep ahead of time. And I want to try to get in more mailbag questions so that way we can really kind of make sure that this is like quarterly and special and That we're not just doing a handful of these things. And yeah, we won't do it again until April. So get them in while you can, as soon as possible, and we'll be answering those questions. But in the meantime, just follow us all over the place on Smart Out Moments Facebook and Twitter accounts and the website itself. It's all at Smart Out Moment. Follow the YouTube channel, subscribe on all the different platforms that you want to listen to this on, and we will see you next time. But for now, this has been another Smart Out Moment, and we're being counted out.